this aircraft style aluminum fabrication, there are no butt joints. I better get back on track and away from these butt jokes. So the box has been clecoed in the truck with all of the holes lining up. The top is ready to be cut, and I need to cut out a strip that's going to go along the back rail to create the lap joint. So here is a brief overview of how it's going to be done, which will be followed by a detailed video on how I did this. It starts out with a good shot. I'm not superstitious, but it's a good start. I feel like it's going to go well.
Oh, hit the trash can.
The good shot is immediately followed by confusion and then a discovery. I now really understand the design of the Land Rover seat box. The cognitive moment is followed by some compressed air action to decompress. Some cutting and deburring. Much more drilling. And finally riveting.
So I'm getting ready to cut the aluminum sheet, but first I have to mark it. I only have one, so I'm gonna try not to make any mistakes marking it up. I'm already detecting a problem. I wonder if my box shifted. I'm going to see if the sheet is square. The sheet is square with respect to that edge. Curious to see what this looks like. It looks quite crooked. And so does this. In quite a similar way. Have a little more than this. Yeah, it's very even. Alright, so I've learned something. The seat box is trapezoidal in shape. I made it symmetric. And I assumed it was a rectangle. But it's not. It's narrower in the front. Luckily, things match on both sides, as I mentioned earlier, because the bed is square and the bed must be square on a chassis. That's a lucky break. I would not have necessarily assumed that. The task becomes slightly more complex as I am going to be cutting a trapezoid and not a rectangle. I'm ready for the cutting operation. The slight problem I have here is that I'm either frugal or I didn't order enough material, depending on how you look at it. I can't just cut this straight using my metal cutting circular saw. Because I need these projections back here. I also don't want to make a radius with a jigsaw because I want to save this piece nice and square to serve as my double up piece for the butt joint in the back of the box. So I'm going to use this cutoff tool to just start this corner so that I can get the jigsaw blade in. Once I do that, I will cut the rest of it with a jigsaw. This air-powered cutoff tool is reversible, which is a great feature for YouTube work. you can reverse the wheel so it throws the dust away from the camera lens and not toward it. The Robert Bosch Tool Company makes specialized jigsaw blades for aluminum. I don't own the edge guide for this saw. Today it would have come in handy. I will see if I can clamp this ruler to create a guide for the saw to write against. So I'm there. The fit is good. We're ready to resume our pre-riveting operations of rivet layout and drilling. Marked here in red, I have areas where I'm not going to have rivets because the seat rails will attach here. And the good news is that when the clecos go in the corners here, I will be finally permanently squared, or in the case of this box, permanently trapezoided. Being trapezoided is a new state of being. I'm naming. Maybe I've been trapezoided before and haven't realized it. This is my problem area where the bolt for the seat attachment will be, and I'm skipping this rivet. So my plan for skipping couple is working out. I am trapezoidally secure. Alright, so we drilled where we wanted, we didn't drill where we didn't. Good sign so far. So the box has been assembled with clecos and match drilled, so all of the holes match. The countersinking is done. All of the holes have been countersunk. Of course, everything has been cut to size and pre-assembled. The next step is deburring, and that will be followed by priming. So I talked about deburring tools earlier. They look like countersinks. On the countersunk holes, you only clean up the back, of course, because the front has been cleaned up by the countersink itself. And each hole that's not countersunk has to be deburred on both sides. These burrs, that they don't just prevent the metal from coming together during assembly, they're also points that are weak where stress cracks and things like that begin. And so this is tough on the wrist, spinning this hundreds and hundreds of times. So this may be the way to go, so let's get going. Where we are riveting the first piece. Checking rivet length for the -4. Rivet length is good. Alright, number 1, let's give it a try. Good fit back here. Of course, people who do this professionally have a feel for the burst that it takes to set the rivet. I watch a YouTube channel called Welding Tips and Tricks with Jody, the hyper-skilled welder. And he often talks about ABCs of welding, which are always be comfortable. And that can be tricky when doing operations like this. Unless you have a second person to buck rivets. I think this is fairly doable in this position. So the challenge of riveting back here is that I have to get my arm almost all the way in there to buck. Fortunately, this side is completely open. I'm going to be using this bucking bar, and it's wide, so if I'm off even by an inch left or right, I should still get a good bucking action. This is a challenge in terms of operator comfort. Again, biomechanics are an issue, but only a few rivets left on the most uncomfortable part. So I want to talk about a method called back riveting. I'm going to try some back riveting on this rear member. And it's doubler, which is what's forming the lap joint. As you might recall in episode 1, we figured out that there are no butt joints in this type of construction. So to create a lap joint, I have to rivet this doubler onto the rear support of the seat box. And I suspect this can be done by this method called back riveting. So when you're back riveting, you're hitting the wrong side of the rivet. You're hitting the shop head, and instead of the bucking bar, you're resting it on the plate. So this is an inexpensive back riveting plate, as you can see from this mill scale. This is just a piece of hot rolled sheet metal, probably 1/4 inch thick, that was machined. It looks like it was machined with a fly cutter or something like that from the markings that are still left on it. And then there was a feeble attempt to polish it. I polished it a little more because the finished side goes on it. So you rest it on your bench, and then you insert the rivets. The back riveting plate is on the bench. The first piece that's being riveted is on the back riveting plate with its countersunk holes and flush rivets against the plate. And so there are no clecos. So how is this held tight? It's held tight by the spring on the back riveting set. So the back riveting set has this spring and this collar, and so this spring and collar hold parts together as the pounding action occurs inside the collar. Right to back rivet. Pretty nice. It was resting well. I can see where the rivet was touching it. So if you can assure good contact between between the back riveting plate and work, it's going to work out. Right, that's the last row of clecos. Let's start riveting. When you're in a comfortable position and the tool is perpendicular to the work, it's easy to get good results. This here is the last cleco, or the last rivet. So this is the completed seat box restoration. The lap joint, and the top. Here is the seat box inside the truck. It forms the bottom of what would have been a cab in any other vehicle. Here it attaches to the front of the rear bed, which is full of other Land Rover parts. These are the sides that always take a beating. On the bottom here, they're supported by steel sills that haven't been installed yet. And that area near the transmission will probably need more cutting away and aluminum angles riveted on to hold the transmission tunnel. But that can only be done after this bulkhead is completed. And the bulkhead project is next. This is the air pipe from the air filter to the turbo. And currently it's in the passenger compartment, which is not good. But this is the compromise that had to be made to move the engine back to preserve the appearance of a Series 3. Thanks for watching the 2 videos about the seat box. I am hoping to make many more about trying to get this Santana Coiler on the road So please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.